Marketers are being told to do more with less, so they retreat to what's safe and attributable. Google, Meta, the tried and the true. But attribution doesn't equal impact. If you're only investing in channels that show direct ROI, you're ignoring the way today's buyers actually behave. You're not capturing demand, you're just reporting on what's easy to track. And that mindset is limiting your growth. That's a quote from Megan Conahan and a sneak peek at today's episode. Hi there, I'm Kerry Curran, Revenue Growth Consultant, Industry Analyst, and host of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. Every episode, I sit down with top experts to bring you actionable strategies that drive real results. So if you're serious about growth, hit subscribe and stay ahead of the competition. In Beyond Google and Meta, the future of search, media, and customer behavior, we're joined by Megan Conahan. She's the EVP at Direct Agents. We unpack why clinging to traditional platforms is costing you growth and how to reach today's real decision makers. If you're still building your strategy around yesterday's search behavior, you're missing where today's buyers actually spend their time. From TikTok and Reddit to Roblox and CTV, Megan breaks down what's really driving growth and why clinging to outdated attribution models is holding brands back. Be sure to stay tuned to the end where Megan shares her 6 key predictions for the second half of 2025 and how to get started with testing into new emerging channels. Let's go. So welcome, Megan. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Sure. Hey, Kerry. Good to see you again. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Conahan. I am an executive vice president at Direct Agents. We are a digital marketing agency based in New York and LA. My background is deeply in performance marketing. I've been working in performance marketing for almost 20 years now, helping both B2B and B2C brands navigate traditional digital as well as kind of the emerging landscape. I also have a monthly newsletter called the Monthly Marketing Memo, where I talk about just emerging trends, news, stories to keep everybody up to date in this crazy world we all live in.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Very excited to have you here. And 20 years in the digital marketing space is a lifetime, but it has evolved so rapidly. And to your point, so many emerging channels, which is what makes it so exciting. But talk to me about what are you hearing today from your clients or prospects? Like what are kind of the hot topics in buzz?
Yeah. So, similar to you, I talk to brands of all sizes, all shapes, all verticals, all day, every day. And the one thing that I still hear a lot, and one thing that is actually kind of concerning to me, is just how so reliant we are as an industry on Google and Meta, right? And especially when you think about how consumer behavior has changed, we're still operating in a world of like 5 years ago, right? Yeah. Brands, in my opinion, just aren't adapting quick enough to some of those consumer behavior changes, which is one of the reasons I say it's concerning. If you think about it, in the last however many years, we have over 60% of Gen Z now relies on TikTok as a search engine. 46 million daily searches happen on Reddit. 62% of Gen Z and millennials say they'd rather use visual search than text-based search. And then there's a predicted drop in traditional search volume by 2026 by 25%. And yet when I'm talking to brands, I say, hey, talk to me about your marketing and search strategy. They're talking to me about their Google specific strategy. They're not talking to me about their overall demand capture or their overall kind of a strategy. And you might think, both you and I work with both B2C and B2B brands. You might think this is like a consumer phenomena, like a problem for B2Cs, but I almost think it's more prevalent in the B2B space. We're still very stuck in our ways about how we think decisions are made on B2B products. But the fact of the matter is that 71% of B2B decision makers are digital natives. They're Gen Z, they're millennials, right? And they're consuming content in a very different way than previous generations. And right now, almost 70% of company decision makers say that they rely on TikTok to research like new products, new services, new tech, which is wild, right? Like,
Yeah.
when's the last time you talked to a B2B brand about advertising or having a presence on TikTok? I know it hasn't been something that I've had the pleasure of navigating.
No, I agree. And I think, the evolution of your strategies and channels to align with consumer behavior. I mean, it's the consumer behavior is evolving so fast. It's hard to stay on top of those things. But do you think it's just a comfort zone of, I know I'm going to get my CPCs, and I know that, especially now with, PMAX and other AI capabilities, that this is just are they thinking of it as just a well-oiled machine they should just keep running? Or is it a fear? Like, just what's your perspective on kind of why they haven't been evolving, that brands haven't been evolving with their consumers' behavior?
I think a lot of it is maybe comfort zone. It is,
Mm-hmm.
we know that this works and we're scared to try other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly, it's really overwhelming, right?
It
Like, if
is.
you're a
Yeah.
marketer, most marketers I know are strapped. I've never talked to a marketer who's like, oh, I have plenty of time and energy and budget to go around. Everybody's
Yeah.
working with limited resources. And
Yeah.
so they know what works. And frankly, also, we're all being asked to, especially right now, do more with
Mm-hmm.
less, right? So how
Yes.
can
Yeah.
you possibly justify moving budget away from Google to Reddit, to TikTok, to
Mm-hmm.
Perplexity,
Yeah.
when your CFO is saying, hey, your budgets are cut 20%, but you have to deliver 10% growth. So
Yeah.
I think it is a fear. I think it's a lack of knowledge. I also think it's based on like the budget constraints and just our overall overextension of the industry.
So I know, I think what, like, you and I talked about as well, is that CFOs and the boards, like the budget holders, are still seeing marketing as a cost center rather than that strategic investment,
Mhm.
and aren't understanding the customer journey. Like, do you think that still rings true with a lot of the brands you're speaking with?
Yeah, I do. I hear more brands talking about how their CFOs are starting to get it, because I think there have
Mhm.
been a lot of brands who've made that mistake of, looking at marketing as a cost center and just pushing us all down to the bottom of the funnel
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
regretting it in a very major way. But I still think it's very prevalent. So
Mhm.
marketing is still very much so. If your company is asked to cut costs, usually marketing is the first place that we get cuts from.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that we then are forced to, because when you think about it, when you're asked to do more with less, what are you being asked to do? You're being asked to only spend on what can drive attributable sales and attributable revenue.
Yeah.
And that's Google
Yeah.
and that's Meta. We are not considering consumer behavior changes. We're not considering where people are actually spending their time, places that don't have solid attribution yet. So you're going to be spending your money on what's attributable and not what's actually driving growth for your company. And that
Mhm.
could be a really big problem if you were a company that's trying to grow and evolve, which most companies are.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I think too, it's, as you, like, to your point, it's in a way, it comes from a place of fear of, I got to stay with what's tried and true, as you said. And what we're not seeing, or what we need to see more of, is that comfort of, I'm going to carve budget out to test these new channels, because potentially there is more a lower cost, higher return. There are ways we can engage and grow to new audiences if we go outside of our comfort zone, but it's hard to get that, which is a big marketing challenge. I think we see across all brands.
I agree, completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And what are some of the other, challenges that you're seeing for marketers?
I mean, I think we talked about the big one, which is just the CFOs and the pressure to do more with less. I think honestly, that's where so many of our challenges come from
Yeah.
as a group. So I will say that's one of the really large ones. But the other one is really like identifying what's working. right? Because we're being asked to do more with less. So what that means is, okay, invest in what's attributable. But I
Yeah.
don't think as marketers, we know what channels are actually driving growth, right?
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about just the importance of utilizing like media mix modeling and other more advanced measurement techniques so that
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
really hone in on what's driving incremental value, what's driving growth, and not what's just attributable. But most marketers, as much as the industry talks about this and as much as it's more easily available, it's more cost effective than it's ever been, most marketers are still not using that. So it's been
Yeah.
our intention this year to get as many of our brands as possible to use our media mix models so that we can start proving to them what matters, because you'll have many times like identifying what channels matter most. If you're being pressured to cut dollars, you're not going to cut from brand search, right? You're probably going to cut from CTV. It's harder to measure.
Yeah.
But if you look at a media mix model, if you cut brand search, the effect to your overall business is probably like nothing. But if you cut
Right.
CTV, all of a sudden your CPCs go up, your CVRs go down, your brand search stops. All it has this massive effect, but it's just not easy peasy to measure. So I think that is another one, is just identifying which channels matter
Hmm.
most. And then third is just what we talked about. People don't know how to measure and capture demand outside of Google. I think they know, it's like one of those things, like I think people know, but it's just like you're kind of hoping it goes away so you don't have to deal with it, because it's hard, right? It was so
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
when it was just Google and it was just like, 10
Yeah.
links and we were all looking in the same place in the same ways. But now people are searching with different words, right? Long
Yeah.
tail semantic. They're searching images, they're searching
Hmm.
on Perplexity, they're asking AI chatbots to shortlist, they're searching on
Hmm.
TikTok, Reddit, and it's just so much harder to navigate and manage. So I think those are the big three. It's like the complexity, the measurement, and then being asked to do more with less are probably my top three problems.
Yeah, I definitely see it. And I see it in my own behavior too with voice search as well as just like saying my long tail 20-word query into, my phone to get the answer. To your point, it's like the behavior is changed. And so I know you and I both grew up in the agency world, and I know I have a soft spot in my heart for agencies. So, and because I do believe this is where the partnership and the knowledge and the expertise, especially working across all brands and challenges, brings that agency value. So, what more are you kind of seeing, or for brands, like how are other ways that agencies are really helping at these kind of crazy times of the media evolution?
Yeah. And I think, if you talk to maybe like 5, 10 years, I'm agency side. So again,
Yeah.
I'm biased, but if you talk to me like 5, 10 years ago, you could have made a case to me about in-housing. I would
Yeah.
have been like, you know what? I get it.
Sure.
It's
Hmm.
fine. You should work with an agency, but I understand. Now
Yeah.
I do not think that you could make that case to me
Yeah.
anymore,
Hmm.
honestly, for a brand that's looking to grow, unless you're willing to build out an in-house, like properly build out an in-house agency, which is
Yeah.
extremely challenging.
Yeah.
Just because the complexity of the media landscape is like nothing we've ever seen before,
Hmm.
right? It is not just Google and Meta. It is all of those different things we discussed. Consumer behavior is different, marketing platforms are different. All of these things are completely changed, and really the ability for brands to manage this stuff in house has
Hmm.
it's really become an impossibility if you want to do it well. It's made, in my mind, agencies way more valuable and way more necessary in some way, shape, or form. And how you engage with agencies could be totally
Yeah.
different. But I think
Hmm.
most brands are going to need agency support in some way, shape, or form, kind of moving forward.
Yes, and like I'm saying, I completely agree. And even in the world of AI for making things move faster, or consolidating initiatives, it's that strategy that the agency brings, right? Like
Definitely.
how those emerging platforms, or even ad formats within the emerging platforms, are going to benefit different types of business challenges, or goals, right? And so it's like bringing that expertise and knowing how to get things up and running.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. And like we'll talk to brands and they'll say, "Oh, well, the agency cost should have gone down, right? AI." Everyone just said, "Oh, AI."
Right, right.
But like AI, AI takes away the executional part and it
Yeah.
helps with a lot of the things and it takes time off our plates, which is amazing. But that was
Mhm.
never the cost center. Like you said, it was
Right.
always strategy.
Mhm.
And the added complexity of the landscape means a strategy is so much more important. It needs
Yeah.
so much more time. And one of my big like issues is, marketers say, don't look at us as a cost center, look at us as a revenue center.
Yeah.
Agencies are many times in the same exact boat. Don't
Right,
look at
right.
us as a cost center, don't look at us as a commodity. Many times when we're, pitching, it comes down to procurement and
Mhm.
it's just a matter of dollars and cents. But
Mhm.
you grew up in the agency world, and I
Yeah.
think you would agree that if you have the right agency, the right strategy, you can push on your agency can push on you, you're connected to leadership, that is invaluable.
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
a really strong agency partnership and should not be blown up over a few dollars, because
Right.
it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you select the wrong agency, right, in time for
Mhm.
your team, in missed opportunities. So I do think the agency partnership has gotten more important, but we haven't yet figured out how to, I guess, not commoditize agency work. We're still working
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah, or at least the perception, right? And that, I think that goes back to, they feel like anyone can run a Google or Meta campaign, but it's like
Exactly.
having that perspective, that knowledge, and across verticals and business challenges that you can truly help. So for brands, whether they're working with agencies or agency marketers, like what are some of the things that they should be prioritizing thinking about when they're solving for this, vast, complex landscape?
Yeah, I still think it's about marketing at the end of the day is still just about showing up at the right time in the right place with the right message, right? Like it's
Yeah.
an oversimplistic version of it, but
Mm-hmm.
really that's what we're still talking about here. And I think the problem is that a lot of brands haven't reassessed that right place yet. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know where their audience is anymore. They just go Google Meta because everybody's on Google and Meta.
Yeah.
But and maybe that was the case before, but that's not really the case necessarily anymore. So we have people who are no longer searching on Google, people who no longer use Meta because they think one way or another about it. And so we really need to get back to the foundations of marketing and
Yes.
finding
Mm-hmm.
where our audience is, where do they spend their personal lives, where do they spend their professional lives, and making sure that we're talking to them in those places. But then also making sure that we're matching the kind of creative, the tone, the keywords, everything to the platform, because how somebody searches and what they want on Google versus how somebody searches and what they want on Reddit versus how they search and what they want on TikTok are totally different. And if you're showing up with just your Google ads, you're going to alienate that audience.
Yeah.
And even Reddit recently, I really like Reddit for a variety of different reasons. I think they have a lot of great contextual signals, they have great audience, and they've really worked to make their ad platform super robust. But recently, they rolled out a tool in response to their audience complaints about poor ad targeting, poor creative. And now, with one click on Reddit, a consumer can hide an advertiser's account for a year. That means if you have a bad message, you're lazy with targeting, whatever it might be, you risk not having access to that audience anymore, right? It's not one person, it's going to be a group of people who just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this ad.
Yeah.
And I can see more platforms kind of doing the same. I mean, Reddit is always wants to put its user base squarely in the driver's seat, but
Yeah.
I think that's so great that they're doing it. It's forcing advertisers to be more curated.
Hey everyone, it's me, Kerry Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional chief growth officer, I'll bring revenue focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and ad tech buying behaviors, modern go to market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, we're revenue-based marketing that works. Yeah, I think that's, the more, to your point, like all of the platforms exist for their users and making it more relevant and valuable to them. So it's so critically important. And
Yes.
so much of everything you've been talking about really depends on being innovative and curious and kind of keeping an eye on and close to the evolution. So what are kind of recommendations or things you're seeing from an innovation perspective?
Yeah. So there's, I think, a couple of things that we talk about when we talk about innovation. So one for us, it's really about knowing that our brands are being squeezed and making sure that with every dollar we spend, we are the most efficient possible. So that is making sure we cut all waste, cut all extra tech costs, make sure that there's no issue with bots. And one of the ways we do this is through, we have and I'm not going to talk all about it, but if you want to hear more, obviously you can find me, but our proprietary tool, which is called Canopy AI. Canopy AI essentially helps us with bidding, budget flighting, measurement forecasting, absolutely everything. And what we find is it saves us about 20 to 30% of the time. So that innovation and our focus on innovation when it comes to efficiency allows marketers to say, hey, I have $100,000 and I need to grow by 10, 15, 20% according to the CFO. We can take that $100,000 and make it work like $100,000, but only spend 80 of it, right? And then we reinvest the rest. We reinvest the rest into things like TikTok, things like Reddit, things like other channels that
you can test
really.
into and just see if they're working for your audience.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the things that's really important on innovation for us. We're really focused on the cost savings of it all. Two is measurement, right? We talked about media mix modeling. It is really important for us because we are able to then identify what's working for our brands, what's driving real growth, and what's just driving attribution, right? Because if any marketer knows that if you add up your Google plus your Meta conversions, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. They're taking credit for each other. They are, everybody wants attribution, but it's not necessarily that it's driving incrementality. So I think the other thing for us and making our clients more efficient is the measurement piece and media mix modeling. And then the third thing is just making sure, we talked about this, you have to have that innovation budget, right? There's no two ways about it. You cannot just make every dollar work for lower funnel. You will kill your brand that way. If we're not accounting for innovation, where people are spending time, new platforms, new channels, you're going to really struggle to grow in the long term, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And so you've shared a lot of we've mentioned a lot of the more kind of innovative, evolving channels like Reddit and TikTok, but you had shared one integration that I think for commerce that is really cool. So talk about the Shopify Roblox integration that you're helping clients with.
Yeah, I mean, so if you are a Gen Z brand and you are not thinking about how to capture consumers in gaming, you're missing out, right? 90% of the new digital buyers between now and 2028 are Gen Zs, right? And this is a generation spending 2 hours a day in gaming, in Roblox. It's completely wild. They're spending more time here than they are on TikTok, but we're not talking about it, right? And in the past, I got it, right? It's hard. It was really hard to, okay, another platform, another thing. But Roblox has recently partnered with Shopify. So if you're a Shopify brand, you can, with a very, very easy integration, start selling your products right within Roblox, right? Which is amazing because I think the
Mhm.
next iteration of commerce, retail media is driving a lot right now. We're talking about social commerce. Soon we're going to be talking more about this gamified commerce, commerce within gaming.
Yeah.
And not only for commerce brands, but Roblox also just partnered with Google. So now you can buy Roblox ads within the Google platform, a platform you're already buying. So
Yeah.
again, not saying that you're so behind if you're a brand and you're Gen Z targeted and you're not on Roblox yet, but I do think brands really need to start considering this platform before, while it's still new and while it's still innovative, before
Mhm.
it gets too saturated.
Yeah. No, I think that that's such a cool example of, again, like something an agency would bring to that's innovative and different. So I love all of this, Megan. I love how close you are to kind of what's new and hot. So from your perspective then, like what are your big predictions over the next year?
Sure. Yeah. So every year I'll do predictions for the following year with varying degrees of success, I suppose. But I recently released my 5 predictions for 2025. And the first one is the death of search as we know it. We talked about this, right? Search will persist, but it is not going to be what we think it used to be. It's not keyword based. It is more fragmented. It is contextual. It's semantic. It's visual, and brands really need to get behind making sure they're capturing demand across platforms, but then across formats as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Virtual worlds are the new frontier. I really believe that Roblox is, and gaming platforms in general are the future. And I think if you have a Gen Z audience, you need to be there, and especially for commerce. Third one is CTV is going to be the hub for performance marketing. I mean,
Yeah.
Kerry, I grew up in performance. I never thought I'd be talking about TV, like
Yeah. Yep. But we
ever.
get it, right? To your point earlier, like you need that brand awareness. You need to drive that, create that, and drive that demand.
You totally, totally do. And now there's better attribution, there's better performance, there's more connection. Like if you sell on Amazon, you can use Amazon data, you have closed loop attribution. If you don't sell on Amazon, really think about media mix modeling. It will prove to you the value without a shadow of the doubt that
Mm-hmm.
it is working, right? Four is that social feeds and stores are the next evolution of retail media. Retail media players are maxing out on on-site inventory. Walmart and Amazon, for every search, for every user, has ads. 100% saturation, right? So the only way they're going to grow is by using their first party data and enabling ads on CTV, enabling ads on social, using their in store media. So we're seeing more and more brands advertise on retail media, and we're pushing this too, getting outside the on platform environment, really
Mm-hmm.
talking to people across the web and in store about your brand. And then the fifth one is B2C, B2B marketing is going to go full B2C. B2B
Yeah.
consumers are over the traditional boring jargon and tactics. They want fun, they want humor, they want energy. Like I always say, I make a joke that like B2B people, B2B consumers are people too, like B2B buyers were people too, you know? And
Yeah.
we've talked to them like they weren't people. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that is going to change a lot this year. We're already seeing with use of
Yeah.
influencers, better and more fun creative. And then I'll throw a sixth one out, which I've talked about already, which is media mix modeling as the next growth unlock. I
Yeah.
think you can invest in Perplexity, you can invest in ChatGPT, Reddit, whatever it might be. Those will be incremental gains. If you don't fix your measurement problem, you will never get that next true unlock that really drives growth for their brand. So those are my, I'm going to say six for 2025.
Excellent, Megan. And we'll link to your longer article for people who want to dig in more deeply. This has been amazing, and I'm sure there's people like myself just sitting on the edge of their seats, like chomping at the bit to get more innovative and to move
Mhm.
beyond the Google and Meta dependencies. So for the people listening that need to get more innovative and expand into these emerging channels, like what's kind of the readiness that they need to start going out there and testing into these new opportunities?
Yeah, I think each brand is going to be different, right? But I think the first step is knowing what you don't know, right? Like listening to this conversation and saying, "Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't realize X, Y, and Z." I think that's the first thing, and then go and consider your brand. Consider where your consumers are spending time, and rate everything we talked about here. I'd say write it all down, and then I like to rate things based on ease and impact. So how easy
Love
it is
that.
it to
Hmm.
implement and how impactful, and just start with the lowest hanging fruit and just work your way up,
Yeah.
right? I think that is the best way. And also consider working with an agency. Even if you're not right now, consider working with an agency for innovation, right? They can help you with strategy. If you really still want to own execution, great, fine. But really consider working with somebody who has expertise, who has done this before. It'll save you a lot of time and energy.
Excellent. Megan, this is amazing. Thank you so much. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, of course. So you can always email me at Megan, Megan, at directagents.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Megan Conahan, and then also search for my newsletter on LinkedIn, the monthly marketing memo. Please feel free to message me. I'm super friendly. I'm super happy to have these conversations. I love talking shop. And so I would happily chat with anybody about any of your problems or innovation strategies.
Excellent. And love talking shop with you as well, Megan, as always. I'll put all the links in the show notes, but thank you so much for joining today. This really was timely and super valuable. So thank you.
No, it was great talking to you again, Kerry. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked some new ideas and challenged the way you think about your paid media mix and testing out emerging channels. If you're serious about turning marketing into a true revenue driver, this is just the beginning. We've got more insightful conversations, expert guests, and actionable strategies coming your way. So search for us in your favorite podcast directory and hit subscribe. And hey, if this episode gave you value, share it with a colleague or leave a quick review. It helps more revenue-minded leaders like you find our show. If you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech brand that sells to marketers, give me a shout and to talk about affordable and effective sponsorship opportunities. My top episodes are generating close to 30,000 downloads. Until next time, I'm Kerry Curran, helping you connect marketing to growth, one episode at a time. We'll see you soon.